This is the moment that designers cherish.
The moment designers love.
It's the moment we bring our clients into the finished product for the very first time.
The moment we show them how it has all come together to create the home of their dreams.
This is the reveal. Hi, I'm Mary Welch. Welcome to our Old Village home that we affectionately call Royal. This home is in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and is made for a couple that moved here from New York. They are so young and so fun. We wanted to make this home that really reflected them and who they are as people, but also keep the characteristics of the neighborhood and Charleston. With that, we had this great, beautiful canvas. We kept this kind of traditional Charleston low country style, but added some really edgy touches. I'm excited to show you. Okay, so this is the entry of the home. I love this entry because from the outside, you're walking into this low country home and then you peep right into this kind of dramatic entry. We color drenched the walls in here, which means that we colored every surface. So the trim, the ceiling, the door, all the pieces for that more dramatic effect. In this space, we utilize some high-low, and what I mean when I say that is we're spending money in certain places and then pulling back in others. You know, everybody has a budget, and that is great, and we always can work within a budget. So when that happens, there's some pieces I want to spend a little bit more money on, and in this instance, I spend it on the rug and this console, and other instances where we pulled back and put some placeholders in. So this couple in particular loves artwork, and they really want to have pieces that speak to them. This part in particular, we took posters, framed the posters. They're a holding place for now that work with all the colors in here until the homeowners find exactly what they want. And then we paired it with these understated large sconces and this great light fixture up here, which is the vintage nod. I also made this sculpture for them. I love to paint busts. Again, they're really young and fun. They wanted some edgy pieces. So I thought this would be a fun moment to bring in some of my personal stuff. And over here, we were already presented with this really cool architecture moment with these hidden doors. So when you press on the wall, there's a powder room behind here. And I wanted to make this another really dramatic statement. So in here, we did that with this incredible light fixture that almost feels like a moon hanging over in this dark space, this textured wallpaper from Mark Alexander, which is actually gorgeous. And then I found this pink marble cosmopolitan slab on a site walkthrough for another job, and I had been sitting on it and needed to use it somewhere, and I didn't care where I used it, but this ended up being the perfect spot. And it just creates this really feminine, masculine push and pull that I think is so fun, and again, a complete opposition to the entry walking into this space. This is probably my favorite room I've ever designed. We affectionately call this the Lady Lounge. As mentioned, the couple is from New York. They're young, they're fun, and they wanted one space for the wife to hang out in and be with her friends and still have that moment like where she could just enjoy life and get ready and feel pretty and do all the things. She's also an aspiring DJ, so we incorporated all of her favorite things into this space. One of my favorite things that she had mentioned is that she wanted fabrics that she couldn't have when she has kids. So we did a fun makeup stool here in a crazy fur. We've added so many rock and roll elements as well. She wanted it to be chic, crazy, reminding her of like her club nights in New York. So we added these skull knobs, which are actually Buster and Punch from Travis Barker's line, which I thought was just a fun touch. We displayed all of her fun shoes and bags because she has a beautiful collection, and these are like pieces of art, so why not have them out on display? There's so many other fun touches in here. We added this dark color into the cabinetry to work with this wallpaper that still brings in some of, you know, a Charleston touch. We have palms in here, so it's a little bit beachy, but still really edgy. My favorite part about this room is using her fun belongings to highlight them because she had so much to work with. It actually gave us a clue on how to design around it. The gold touches, these bags, like you can tell so much from her, who she is as a person, by her fashion sense. And that helped us build that edgy persona that we could build this room on. I utilized her own dresses, which were these really fun, crazy sequin dresses. Yeah, just kind of played with all of the fun young vibes that she exudes. We also added a really fun Ultrafagola mirror so she could check herself out when she's getting ready and her friends are in here playing. This is just a good escape that I would come and hang out in anytime. So this is the bathroom off of the lady lounge. In here we added a custom shower curtain with this, what looks like to me, lightning bolts. That's how I interpreted it. And lime washed the walls. Our team actually does that ourselves, and that's a mineral-based paint that goes on with a special application, and it gives a little bit more depth to the walls. Added some custom art in here that's fun and playful again and risque. It's a smaller bathroom and we wanted to utilize as much space as we could, so we pulled out this custom vanity that we could fit at least 2 drawers in, added a marble top to it, and just kind of made a funky space in this tiny little bathroom. Okay, so this living room is so fun. As we mentioned, they're a young couple, so they really still wanted a comfortable place where they can cozy up on a couch, watch TV, hang out with their friends, but it's also in their main living area. You know, you can see this living room from every corner of the home, from the kitchen, from the dining room, from the entry, so we still had to make it fun and funky at the same time. And one of the first ways we did that was adding this gigantic disco ball to the space. So there's a lot of natural light in the space, and we had a ton of can lights that lined the space. So we actually didn't need a light fixture to illuminate the room. So it was a great choice to use a disco ball. It was kind of the perfect blend of spaces to use it because we could use the natural light to hit the disco ball. We didn't need it to illuminate the space. And that's really rare that we have that opportunity. Custom sofa made by Varellin, which is just cozy and easy for their whole family to gather around. And then some vintage recovered chairs. When you order fabric for chairs, when you're recovering anything, you have to order a little bit of overage just in case. So we utilize that overage to make custom pillows for their sofa as well. Again, really stretching that dollar as far as we could. And then I actually created the art for the space to tie together all the colors, which is just a fun nod that I like to do for clients when they'll let me. And then we also added these really beautiful cozy drapes so they can really shut off this space, make it as dark as they want, have as much privacy as they like, and it adds that extra layer of elegance. And then for their coffee table, we had 2 tables that are pretty easy to move around. Again, so they entertain a lot. They can move them around. They were an inexpensive option, and they also added another visual interest at 2 different heights. So I love how these 2 play, and you can pull one closer to the couch and one closer to the chairs. And then when they have their friends over, it's easier to play games, set their drinks down, and really be mobile in this space as much as they can. Again, this couple entertains a lot. They play a lot of fun games. They have a great friend group, so they needed extra storage in their space. So we had 2 credenzas in order to provide that they can put all their belongings in, all of their games, anything that they utilize for entertaining away when they're not out and their friends are over. Okay, so one trick we like to use when we have a really large open space is rugs to differentiate the spaces. So we utilized a blue rug in the living room because it's more fun and playful, and then a completely different rug and size and a more neutral color in the dining room to keep it a little more formal in that area for dinners, and then that translates more into their beautifully formal kitchen as well. In this dining room, we wanted to keep it formal. They do entertain a lot, and I wanted to stay in a neutral palette. So again, we utilized this neutral rug, neutral chairs, and stuck with this really beautiful dark table. It's a natural wood grain, but it has so much shape and movement into it. I felt like it lent a lot of interest to the eye, and same with the chairs. We loved this long linear light fixture. We actually found this in a massive discount too. It's from one of my favorite brands, Roll & Hill. But the light itself was such a good deal, and it worked so perfectly in this space that we couldn't pass it up. We want to create different lighting and different vibes for each space to really differentiate the spaces. And I think we accomplished that with this long linear light, and then moving into a more sculptural light in the kitchen by Tom Dixon, which I love both, but each one has its own moment. So coming off of the dining room, in this home, you're really easing into neutrals. We have these really deep color-drenched spaces, eased into a somewhat colorful living room, into a neutral dining space, and then into this dramatic neutral kitchen. So I wanted to play with that kind of soft movement, and it feels so natural when you easily carry it through rather than the harsh divide. In this kitchen, we were really lucky to already have a really beautiful palette to work with. So the cabinetry already existed, and so did this beautiful stone in the backsplash. So what we did to add to that is it also had this really beautiful work table that is vintage and had been sitting in here from the previous owners. And they wanted to keep that vintage table, but wanted to beef up the island a little bit without building a whole new island. So what we did to do that is we found this beautiful Macchia Vecchia stone. It's a natural marble, and it played really well with the existing marble in here. We beefed up this stone to give it that more substantial look, and then added brass bracing along the sides of this work table, and I think it gave us more space in the room. It added this beautiful sculptural piece and just put some more dimension in to beef it up. We also changed the color of the cabinets just a couple of steps in a warmer direction. Added these metal and glass cabinets to enclose those shelves so they could have a little bit more coverage here and just have a little bit more depth. Painted the windows and then added new lighting, and love these light fixtures. They are so fun, so trippy, so interesting to look at. These are everlasting and just timeless and just always a key piece. And it also plays with these warm tones that are existing in this Macchia Vecchia marble. So it's really gorgeous when it's all together. So we were also really lucky to have this height in this ceiling, which I love. It opens up this space, and it gave us bigger opportunity to have larger pendants, which I love large dramatic pendants in a kitchen. It's harder to have that when you have a lower ceiling because then it makes the room feel small. But with that open ceiling, you can have these large pendants and it still feels more vast and open. So I love these stools because they didn't break the bank. These weren't an investment piece. They ate in here a lot. They wanted something more cozy, but they also knew they would be spilling a lot. So rather than spending a ton of money in here, we went with a lower option, but I still think they work in this space so well because they have so much shape to them and texture. And again, the brass around the bottom really plays with the brass in the island. It was a great touch. And right off the kitchen, we have the pantry. I love a fun pantry moment. I like to make a pantry look entirely different than the kitchen. Something so when you walk by, it catches your eye, it gives you something to look at, and truly when you look in here, it's like a full moment. So we have the color-drenched walls, which was this beautiful deep blue with the white quartz, and then against this really pretty red limestone tile in the back, and then put it with a dark grout, which actually I think makes it more chic because it's that tone on tone. And then I paired it with this great light fixture, which is really sculptural again, and then added artwork that spoke to the client's heart. So the homeowner lost her mother when she was a teenager, and Bruce Springsteen was her mother's favorite artist. So we put that in here so she has a touch and reminder of her mother. So this space is used for their pantry, their cat food, you know, really like a prep area, so it doesn't have to spill over into the kitchen and make a mess in here. When you're entertaining, it's nice to have that off area to, you know, keep all of the materials and everything you're working with instead of keeping it out in front of the people that you're entertaining. So one of my favorite things about their primary bedroom is this integrated bedside table setup. We had a local artisan make the bed and the bedside tables. It turned out with these like custom ridges are so cool. I wanted this like curved appeal, and then it's a press touch, so it's really easy for the homeowners to get into them, access them with no pulls. And we use this monochromatic color scheme in here because I wanted it to be calming, but still have a funky interest. And I think that we pulled that off using various textures in the chair, in the bed, in the bedside tables, and in the window coverings. So with this headboard in particular, it was custom made, but when they brought it in, it was actually an inch too big. And as you can see, it has to squeeze and fit perfectly between these two walls. But that's where the team came in. And within an hour, the bed was fixed and in place. I'm so grateful for the local artisans that help us out, who are actually down the street and were able to execute immediately and get it right in space. Another one of my favorite touches in here is when I first made mood boards for this home, I had these cassette tapes on the mood boards, and the homeowners actually at that point didn't really like them or want them. Then they went on vacation and found these in a gallery on their own and came back and said, hey, we found the art that we'd like in our main bedroom. So I love it when I see eye to eye, and it just is a fun, happy moment. We also added some really fun touches in the lighting. It's brass, it's like the jewelry in the room. We also added a really fun, big, comfy rug. I wanted an oversized rug that felt really soft on the bottom of their feet when they're walking around. They love to be cozy. That was really important to them. And this rug, the feel on the bottom of your foot felt so nice. We added these chairs in here at the foot of the bed because this space looks out on the pool. It's such a fun design, and it has a lot of privacy back here. So now they have this sitting area that they can sit here, look out in the space, you know, still enjoy the outside while they're in their room. All right, so this bathroom originally had two openings. So one into the hallway, one into the primary bedroom. But the homeowner really wanted a larger shower. So we enclosed one of the walls and created this large shower. I wanted it to be this big moment as well. So we used a couple different materials from this gorgeous marble, which is a Cal Vagli, and these 2-inch Zalise tiles that are so gorgeous in there. They're handmade, so it has a lot of imperfections. We also created a marble bench out of that same Vagli stone. And then I custom drew out this glass enclosure. I wanted it to show a special detail, so we lined it in this black piping and then added a more dramatic black pull to it. The symmetry is a little weird in here, so I wanted to play with that off symmetry by creating two oblong mirrors and sconces in the center between the mirrors. So you couldn't see that the symmetry was off balance. It actually just kind of accentuates it and make it look more visually interesting. I love using these built up marble vanity tops. I just think it adds so much more drama and makes it look so much more elevated. So we put this marble Bagley top here, created this custom vanity at the bottom, and then also put this lime wash onto the walls. And again, that's that mineral paint with a special hand stroke. And it gives that extra layer of depth and texture that I think just adds so much more drama. So there's so many moving lines in here between the marble, the lime wash, all the various lines in the tile, that I wanted to have the eye move around and again, create that drama that we wanted to have for this couple in this home. Okay, so this room is such a fun space. It's off the main living space, so directly off the dining room and visible from the kitchen. So this space is used for their cocktail hours, for their drinks, for their friends to come over. More of a gentleman's lounge, I guess, in opposition to the ladies' lounge. In this space, what we did is we color drenched the walls again. I love that color drenching dramatic effect. Adding a really dark color to every space. Added fun wallpaper from Kelly Wersler onto the ceiling, a vintage light fixture. The homeowners had a couple pieces of furniture that they wanted to bring with them, and this is one of those pieces, that yellow chair. So we really based this room off of that pop of mustard. We've recovered the sofa in like a rust-colored velvet. Brought in a local artist named Gately Williams and his photography from a local store here. Added a gold pop in the coffee table. And then we found this really interesting surfboard that's been decoupaged that I loved from a site called Barn 808. I just thought it was this great, fun, playful piece of artwork that we could bring all these colors together to complete the full storyline in here. One of the fun touches in this room is this gold skull. Previously mentioned, the couple used to live in New York and go out a lot, and Gold Bar was one of their favorite bars. So when Gold Bar closed, they sold the skulls on the wall, and we gifted a skull to them to include as an accessory and a fun backdrop in their new party space. And then right around the corner, we have their guest bedroom. So this is the guest bedroom. And in stark contrast to the rest of the house, we actually went with a really calming, neutral white palette in here, layering whites and creams on top of each other. Kept that light colored bedding, made some custom pillows, and then used pedestals instead of storage for bedside tables. Knowing it was going to be a guest bedroom, we kind of went on the assumption that nobody would need to store anything in them. Plus, I think that there's this chic aspect to them. It's almost sculptural. It gives them more display area, creates a little bit more drama, and again, just keeps this nice serene backdrop. So I love actually coming into this really calming, neutral room after this really colorful, fun home that you're walking through. It's a real retreat for the guests. So we were also really lucky to have this beautiful vaulted ceiling in here, which again gave us this opportunity to have a really big dramatic light fall in the center and really act as the backdrop for this room. So this room in the home is directly off of the gentleman's lounge, the darker fun room that everybody gathers in, but it also has direct access to their front wraparound porch that's screened. So it really does act as a nice escape for the guests. So now we're outside in the pool area, and the beautiful thing about this pool area is from the interior of the home, you can really see everything out here. So we wanted to make this a real wow moment as well. So we added plants and chairs and great umbrellas and just set up a bunch of different social corners for people to come over, have fun, lay in the sun, have a drink with friends, but experience the pool from everywhere. The main point there too, again, was because when you're sitting in the living room and in the bedroom, you can see everything out here. So I wanted to make sure we didn't leave any of the areas out. There's also a really beautiful covered porch area that is an outdoor kitchen where they grill, They have a pizza station, an egg, there's dining, a TV. So you really can experience everything out here. We're in Charleston. There's a lot of outdoor living here. So you have to make the outside as wonderful as you make the inside. From the living room and their primary bedroom, the doors open up and you really get to experience indoor-outdoor living. So we also didn't want to back up furniture against those doors, but when you open up the doors, they open up, it creates this really beautiful indoor-outdoor entertaining vibe that you feel like you could just cross over into either space with ease. So we kept this outdoor really loungy, really nice, and that made it easier to really experience and enjoy those doors. Thank you all so much for watching. These houses are so fun to make, and particularly this one. I had so much fun with the couple, with our team. It was an inspiration after inspiration. And bringing you all along with to watch has been a blessing, and I'm so grateful to share. Hopefully you'll be able to follow along for more.